What if you played Super Wonder, but every time a character gets hit, even once, they're considered gone from the run forever, and you can only use non-easy mode characters? Well, that's what I'll be trying today, and it actually turned out to be an incredibly grueling task, since a lot of these levels in this game is actually really surprisingly hard. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the first attempt. So our journey starts like always with our transition into the Flower Kingdom, where Bowser decided to accidentally turn himself into a castle, because of course he does. And with that we're naturally tasked with saving the world like always, and Mario heads into the first level, which luckily goes by pretty smoothly as there isn't a ton of potential dangers present here. So we quickly grab the Wonder Seeds and head into Piranha Plants on Parade, which should be a pretty easy level too. But then disaster struck, and Mario already perishes not even before reaching the first world. The next in line is Luigi, so he takes up the mantle and fairly easily managed to complete Piranha Plants of Parade with both the Wonder Seeds without the vent. And he also managed to fairly easily get past the next level too. So we continue chasing down Bowser in his castle form, and I decided to tackle Bull Rush coming through next. And I'm afraid to admit it, but Luigi was literally like a single frame away from getting hit too. Like I'm 99% sure the run not getting even more screwed up right now was just pure luck. But anywho, moving on from that traumatic experience, we grab the Wonder Seed and Flagpole and swiftly move on to Here Comes the Hoppos, which by comparison goes incredibly smooth. Something I can gladly announce was a trend going forward, as we now completed a few break times to get enough Wonder Seeds to move on to the oh so fair Wiggler race. And fierce it was indeed, but Luigi managed to keep his nerves in check and clear the race without an issue like the absolute Shad he is. We stand Luigi on this channel. And with the confidence still in command, it flies through Bull Rush Express, netting us yet another pair of Wonder Seeds, which means we can challenge the first boss of this world, which is far from the biggest hurdle we'll have to face in this grueling challenge to come. So after bonking Bowser Jr. a few times, we move on like the wind towards the Petal Islands, where Luigi takes a quick swimming lesson, improving his ability to dash underwater, giving us a huge advantage for both quicker speeds and more precise control, making it easier to dodge aquatic scares. Entering the first re-level of the Petal Islands, Robert Co. were met with a billion birds extremely adamant about getting a taste of Luigi's overalls, as they desperately plunge towards him at supersonic speeds with the very impure intentions of ending his run early. But we have a challenge to best, so Luigi kindly declines as he dashes towards the exit. And to wash away the shame of rejecting his lifelong fans for the pursuit of the greater good, he uses the Wonder Flower in Bluebird Roost to wash away his immense shame. But to be serious for a moment, this level proved to actually be a pretty big challenge, as some of the Bluebird shots are generally pretty unpredictable, making the room for error extremely small. But with enough alertness and precise movement, we get through the level, which means we can finally move on to the second world, with Luigi's vigor at an all-time high. But that same luck was unfortunately about to turn up to head into the first level of Fluff Puff Peaks, namely Out of My Way Valley, where these little guys will try to stop you by violently kicking blocks of ice at your direction. And I gotta be honest, I let their immense little guy nature trick me into thinking there wouldn't be much of a problem, which costed Luigi's cool, resulting in getting crushed between a rock and a hard place. Rest easy, Luigi. Remember to write your heartfelt condolences in the comments. Anyway, it was now time for Peach to continue carrying the torch, as we now make sure to not get crushed mud between two icy surfaces. And with that, the level isn't all that hard. Oh gosh, what is happening? Well, it turns out the Wonder Flower for this level decided to spawn in a giant snowball rolling down the level, destroying the goalposts and everything in its way, which is a problem for us because I'm scared. Despite that horrific event, we find our way to a brand new goalpost, and with that, Peach completes what Luigi could not. Which means we now get to spam down a couple more ice blocks in this world's break time and clear an unnecessarily hard platforming challenge that was luckily ultimately harmless in the end. And locate a couple of flower coins in the Search Party Park, which gives us access to Condarch away. And these things are not to be messed with at all. Their main gimmick is that the second you enter their attack range, they'll immediately launch towards you at unnerving speeds, making them incredibly tricky to dodge. So I'd have to be really careful going through this level, as the tiniest of mistakes could mean losing another character, which would be catastrophic this early on in the run. The best strategy I found for this level was just carefully bait the Condarch to attack while staying at a safe distance, then take them out with a Fire Flower. This strategy luckily ended up working out in our favor, which means we were able to clear the level without any more unfortunate losses. Next, I swiftly move on to the Jump challenge, which is actually impossible to die or get hit on, which makes it a really easy source for 2 additional Wonder Seeds, along with the next challenge down the line where you just have to perpetually bounce to avoid falling into the pits, which also ended up going according to plan. Now with 11 Wonder Seeds in our hand, the next mandatory level is unlocked, where the main gimmick is these platforms that will slowly fall as you or another entity stand on them. The physics of these spikes below can be a bit unpredictable too, but it ultimately wasn't that big of a problem to get past with careful enough timing. So after grabbing the Wonder Seed, we leap onto the flagpole and move on to what I thought was gonna be this world's castle. But that's when Kamek shows up and summons a portal, where a scary looking airship emerges. To my pleasant surprise, however, there isn't actually a whole lot that can hurt you in this level, so you could just use a fire flower to hit those little firework bros before they get near you. The only problem here is that I foolishly decided to take on the Wonder Flower challenge, where a Bowser spawns into perpetually try to shoot you down with a giant laser beam. This made the level a lot harder than I would have liked it to be, but alas, I barely managed to dodge everything and we destroyed the enemy production line at the end of the level, netting Peach another huge W in the books. On the bright side, because I challenged Bowser in the airship, we now had exactly enough Wonder Flowers to immediately head into the world's castle, which was yet another 4-star level. And with good reason too, because some magic entity will continuously spam you down with enemies and projectiles trying to hit you. But Peach doesn't take any of that sass and managed to get past all of it with much finesse and style, making it to Bowser Jr. where she just slapped him across the face, netting us yet another royal seed. With the Fluff Puff peaks finally behind us, I decided to take another semi-intense swimming lesson and take a Wiggler on yet another race before heading into Downpour Uproar, where I admittedly had one too many extremely close calls. I was starting to get a bit too relaxed, I feel, which for sure will never come back to bite me in the ass, haha! But for now, Peach was alive and well, and after beating the level we had just enough Wonder Seeds to move on to the next world, Shining Falls. And the theme of this world is like a prestigious training ground to become the very best like no one ever was. And that is exactly what Peach intended to do in this world. She was going to become the best Nuzlocke of all time, and single-handedly best this challenge alone. And with that, Peach had officially become the best there ever was. Nothing could stop her from single-handedly completing this challenge now. Everything was smooth sailing from here. Yep, that's right. A single misstep was all it took. A miscalculation, an oopsie if you will, to end that impressive streak. And with that, Peach was out of the game, meaning it was time for none other than the Big D herself to step up. And after having witnessed the error Peach made, it was impossible to make such an embarrassing mistake again. But as I was starting to get a bit tired, I decided to call it a day here. Stopping in the middle of the level turned out to be a catastrophic oversight, because when I came back in my unfocused state, I walked straight into a Crushma trap. Yep, we've just managed to lose not only Peach, but also Daisy in a single level, which isn't even supposed to be that hard at all. Anywho, we didn't have much time to regret on the pass, so Alla Gold pushes on and managed to get through the level without that much of an issue, meaning we're officially on to the Sunbaked Desert. I started by going directly to Valley full of Sunowaddle since I still had the Bubble Flower power up, which can pretty easily entrap all enemies here, making it only slightly trivial to get past. I have to say though, this level without the Bubble Flower can be a real pain in the ass if you aren't paying perfect attention, since the Sunowaddles can push anything they touch, even including the Goombas here. Afterwards we take on the high jump crouch challenge, along with the music block level, which were both pretty safe bets. And I also accessed the hidden shop, which allowed us to buy 2 more Wonder Seeds. But since I couldn't afford the third one, I went to Sunbaked Desert's first shop since it was a lot cheaper there, and bought it there instead. I also remembered that there was a hidden break time here called the Races stage, where you just have to jump to the music, rewarding you a Wonder Seed. So I naturally quickly did that and headed over to the second full-length level of this world in the Rolling Ball Hall. And this level is literally like perfect for the drill mushroom, since you can just burrow yourself underground for the vast majority of the level. And you can also just let the giant boulder pass you without no issue at all. Well, scratch that. Shit. Gee, it seems like we're already down to our last 2 characters and we haven't even gotten to the real hard world yet. This seems really bad. It was too early to give up though, so Buckenberry pushes through and managed to get past the giant boulder Alla Gold couldn't, which allowed us to receive the Wonder Seed and finally get out of this level, unlocking another fairly easily break time for us to beat, meaning we now just needed 4 more Wonder Seeds to be able to access the castle. I decided the best course of action would be raiding the Desert Mystery and Storm Color Switch dungeon, which went by surprisingly smoothly, netting us 4 more Wonder Seeds, meaning we could finally challenge this world's castle. Similarly to all the other castles so far, there would be a constant influx of enemies getting spawned, very adamant about hitting you. But in the case of this castle, you actually have a lot of room to burrow. So if you just use a drill mushroom, you can dig your way past a lot of said dangers, making the castle surprisingly manageable to beat. Bowser Jr. this time around will be chilling in the Sunbaked Castle's water supply, to which I decided it was my best course of action to have the dolphin swimming badge equipped for this stage, which turned out to be a really good choice as Bowser Jr. can be really challenging to dodge with his superior movement abilities when submerged. But other than having to wait for him and carefully dodge his attacks, Buck and Barry manages to knock Bowser Jr. out, saving the Sunbaked Desert from their drought. So with our 2 fungi friends left in the roster, I head over to Fungi Mines where Kamek yet again summons another battleship to block our path. I'm actually a really big fan of this level personally, since it's basically set up as a flying maniac shooter kind of deal, where you'll have to narrowly navigate bullet bills and rotating flamethrowers using a cloud, which can be a bit tricky at times, so I had made sure to be extremely precise and careful with this one. But having played a lot of maniac shooter type games before definitely helped, as I bested the level and ruined whatever this Bowser head factory thing is supposed to be. Buck and Barry is such a cool dude. Before we could head over to the Fungi Mines, however, we still needed 2 more additional Wonder Seeds to break the Piranha Plant seal blocking the path, which is where more Mouthful comes to play, where the Flower Kingdom is apparently home to this absolutely horrific creature that will ingest you whole, especially if you're so unlucky as to be a tasty little Goomba. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Yep, in the genius moves of using whatever the Mario Wonder devs were smoking, they had the absolute stroke of genius as to make this game a Metal Gear Solid-like stealth game, where you'll have to avoid the more fierce hunger and giant mouths. I love this concept so much, and having waited out for them a bit, we sneak our way past and grab the Wonder Seed and beat the stage. But before heading into the Fungi Mines, I quickly grab the spin badge, which might prove useful later in the run. And heading back, we can finally enter the Fungi Mines, where we're told a bunch of miners have gone missing in the depths of the caves here, so it's now our job to save them. But before that, we shop for our first Wonder Seed and head into the first level of this world, Down Shroom Up Shroom. Man, you really gotta love these fantastic level titles. And the levels themselves are an absolute bop too, as this one apparently had decided to show a huge Halloween party. What an absolute blast. We do however have a challenge to best, so we grab the Wonder Seed and leave the stage to participate in a quiz show which was hosted a level over in Tailey's Toxic Pond. I was honestly a bit set aback by these questions, I gotta admit, but it's not really my place to ask. So I put on my best thinking hat and plowed through these questions, meaning after taking the Trident Piranha Plant's break time, we now had enough Wonder Seeds to descend deeper into the Fungi Mines uncharted territories. And it was unfortunately another huge turning point for the challenge, as I was really not prepared for this level it seemed. So Wubbas are basically these little blob creatures inhabiting the endless goop you'll find in this level. In addition, there's also these directional twomp blocks intent on crushing your balls, the combination of these two being the problem here, because after grabbing the Wonder Flower you'll transform into a Wubba yourself, which basically entirely screws over the traditional controlling scheme, since the Wubba makes you stick to literally everything in this level, which might not sound as bad on paper, but this really screwed over with my perception of movement, which unfortunately led to Buck and Barry being crushed. Send your F's in the chat for the fallen warrior. We now only had one character left, Toadette. And you think I've learned to be more careful when controlling the Wubbas after the tragic loss of Buck and Barry, but the movement options for the Wubbas really proved to screw over my playstyle, and Toadette was also crushed by the loud neighbors. And that was the end of the first run. But of course couldn't give up yet. I had to see if the challenge was possible, so I tried again. But the footage for this attempt unfortunately got corrupted, but I literally got to the Wubba ruins again, only for the exact same thing to happen again, ruining yet another run in the Wubba ruins. Attempt 3 actually went extremely well, and Mario got all the way up to World 2, where I got a little careless and got hit by some spikes. Luigi, like the champ shaddies, got all the way up to Sunbaked Desert Palace, where Bowser Jr. unfortunately bested him, which was literally like a single frame away from happening to Peach too. Like holy shit, that was close. But again, unfortunately she didn't last super long because I completely forgot this green flower raised this piranha plant, which got her screwed. Daisy on the other hand managed to get past the danger, and with that we now yet again had the Wonder Seeds to challenge the elusive Wubba ruins. After all the times this level has screwed me over at this point, I proceeded with an unprecedented amount of caution to every single potential danger, which fortunately for us meant I was finally able to not screw up with the movement, which once and for all meant I was able to clear the level. Let's go! But even though the Wubba ruins was behind us, we still had some of the hardest levels in the game ahead, so there wasn't a whole lot of time for celebration. So we pushed on to the swaying ruins, where I apparently got too careless again, causing me to misjudge judge the distance Daisy had to this mumsy, which ultimately led to the loss of Daisy yet again. With a higher level of caution reinstated, all our gold went in to challenge the level, which went much better than last time luckily. But upon jumping to the flagpole, I realized that, oh, you have to use the secret exits to this level to be able to proceed, meaning I would now have to play this entire level all over again in search of it. And it turned out you had to go through this levitating door by jumping on top of these baby twomp looking dudes, and upon entering you're greeted by a wonder flower, which turns everything into a slippery goop. And clearing the challenge gives you yet another wonder seed and unlocks the path to the real exit, meaning we now only have to beat another break time, which gives us just enough wonder seeds to be able to challenge the last level of this world, namely the Poison Ruins. Yet another 4-star level. This turned out to be a pretty tough level where you'll have to use these green flowers to unlock the path to proceed forward, while the poison below you is perpetually rising, making this an extremely stressful time, especially given we only had 3 characters left. But no matter, I kept my head calm and managed to get to the gold post again. And since I really didn't want to become a wobba again to be able to reach the secret exit, I tried getting over the flagpole with a bubble flower instead. But unfortunately I weren't able to proceed much further than that, so I grabbed the wonder flower instead and pushed towards the secret exit. When this happened, yep, all the gold jumped straight into the poison because I still have no idea how to control these things properly, making the blob power up the single most frequent reason for me screwing up. Amazing job myself. Luckily though, Buckenberry is an absolute trooper and manages to get past everything with relative ease, now that I've gotten a little better at controlling these blobs. And with that, we finally reached the end of the stage, giving us access to go save the mining crew and get to the second to last royal seed we will need to finally be able to complete this challenge once and for all. Back in the Petal Isles, I decided to use the newly acquired royal seed to crush another cloud piranha and proceed to get to the final wonder seeds we will need to access the last world. First one I found in the totally not ripped straight from Super Mario Galaxy bad challenge. The second one in the Muncher fields where we're constantly being stared down by a super menacing Bowser. And then the last wonder seed from the Poppy shop, because I really didn't want to lose any more characters accidentally, which meant we are now finally able to access the last world. Let's do this. First level I decided to take on was Where the Rumbas Rule, which is a fairly gentle start to this otherwise unforgiving world, as you could mostly just burrow your way underground, avoiding most of the external dangers for the most part. And I also just decided to quickly grab the secret exit to this level before jumping back in to get the wonder flower, which turns you into a rumba. So you'll just have to absolutely shmoo through this level to the most glorified and fabulous bowling ball you've ever seen. And we ultimately reached the goal, now having gone 3 wonder seeds from this one level, which I'd say is a pretty baller start. Afterwards I head to Rarks in the ruins, and aren't Rarks just the cutest little things? Anywho, the gimmick of this level is that there are a bunch of invincible blocks that will only reveal themselves once you get closer, which the wonder flower iterates on by combining that mechanic with the top-down perspective on from earlier in the game. So all I had to do now was just being careful with activating the block so the Rark couldn't grab me, take the wonder seed and finish the level. Next it was Hot Wheels, which was also a fairly easy ride, where you'll just have to pull some ropes to clear the way from the Hot Wheels. So we luckily managed to complete this level and its accompanying wonder seed 2 without the vent, which impresses this poplin so much that they donate the wonder seed completely free of charge. I then accidentally paid this dude for a glorified shortcut all the way to the start of the world and complete the spin jump challenge, where I'm able to actually pay for the right guy this time to fix the bridge to the deep Magma Bog flying battleship. The thing about this level is that it's extremely scary due to the constant pressure of the flying mecha Koopa Troopas, Bowser's flame pillars and the auto-scrolling this level has. But in the end, Buckenberry champs it out and destroys the machinery inside, crashing the whole airship into the ground. Nothing can stop this little man at this point. He is basically unstoppable. Hot 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 is up next. And wow, what a creative name. 12 out of 10 developers, they really have to think this one through, I feel. And this level is just a glorified popcorn machine. I don't know what else to say about it, it's great. These enemies are amazing and I love them so much. Almost as much as I love how easy this wonder flower seed is. Truly outstanding stuff. And with the completion of this level, we only needed 2 more wonder seeds to be finally able to finish this world. And hopefully eventually the whole challenge. The last level in question I decided to take on is Wavy right through the magma tube, which might not sound as bad as it is, but holy shit, this first section where there will be 3 spike fire dudes throwing at you with no shield simultaneously while these platforms are oscillating up and down, making you have to constantly gauge if you're about to get hit at all times. Yeah, to summarize, it wasn't a good time at all. But I luckily managed to spot the wonder flower, which transported Buckenberry away to this extremely big fire spike statue that hurled fireballs at him. Poor dude. But after avoiding them for a bit, hit, the Wonder Seed revealed itself, and we can make a beeline, berry line, for the exit. And with that, it was finally now time to head into the last castle of this challenge, Deep Magma Bog Palace. All I had to do now was just keep my cool for one more level, but then disaster struck. The start of the level was relatively smooth with me just spamming down these spawning flame bolts with a bubble flower, which turned out to be quite an effective strategy, while otherwise just trying my best not to let Buckenberry fall into the poison lava. To my surprise, I managed to get through it all unscathed, but that's when Bowser Jr. challenged us. The first phase was nothing out of the ordinary, but during the second phase everything turned black and white, which I thought would be fine, but after spawning in the skeleton piranha flowers, and I thought the bubble would hit the plant before I reached Bowser Jr., but my assumptions were very wrong, as the second I touched Jr.'s face, the piranha plant attacked. F. We still had one more character left, however, who could still save the day, namely Toadette, and at that point I was exhausted and somehow let this happen. Yep, another run foiled, so close to the finish line, but at this point we were actually way too close to give up. So after having to delete the save, we jump right back into our fourth attempt. To quickly recap, Mario screws up in the third level when the absolute legend Luigi just blows through almost the entire game single-handedly, all the way up to the Petal Isles secret airship, where things unfortunately went very wrong, because when it was being chased down by Bowser's big laser, my focus diverted to just dodging said laser, which caused me to get careless and consequently get hit by one of the flamethrowers. And I hate to admit it, but the exact same thing happened to Peach too. So we were left with Daisy to try again, but disaster struck when she got hit too, which was absolutely devastating considering how amazing this run had gone so far, and we were only left with the Toad Squad to best the rest of the game. And best it they did, as Alagol managed to not only beat the airship level, but also the entirety of Fungi Mines alone, with like half the Deep Magma Bog single-handedly. But during the Deep Magma Bog Arena challenge I got extremely careless and got hit by the simplest of meaning we now only had 2 fights left to win this run. But getting back to the Deep Magma Bog Castle proved yet again futile, because Buckenberry somehow got hit by Bowser Jr. during the second stage of the fight. I still have absolutely no idea how this registered as a hit, but alas, that didn't matter, as Toadette was the only one left when this happened. Welp, that was that for that run. And damn, it was so close to. Welp, on to the 5th attempt. 5th time's the charm, like they say. Anyways, Mario got up to the first castle where we somehow managed to get hit by a freaking baby Bowser of all people. Embarrassing stuff, man. But on the other hand, Luigi, the absolute Shad legend, managed to easily single-handedly beat World 2, World 3, World 4, and even the much feared Dwarven Ruins all by his lonesome. What a guy. He even managed to get through the entirety of the Deep Magma Bog, and he defeated this world's Bowser Jr. Holy shit! This of course meaning that we now only had 4 levels left to beat before we could challenge the Big D Bowser himself. So without hesitation, Luigi heads straight to the first level, Missile Meg Mayhem, where you'll have to use these missile megs as platforms to cross various gaps in the level. But upon grabbing the Wonder Flower, tragedy struck as Luigi was sadly hit by a missile meg. All the F's in the chat for Luigi, he was truly the real hero of the run. Luckily Peach were able to succeed where Luigi failed, so we grabbed the Wonder Seed and proceed to the next level, High Voltage Gauntlet. Now this level normally isn't all that scary on its own, when you aren't actively trying to avoid all damage at all, but with the implications of this challenge and lack of visibility throughout this level, that made it extremely scary, as you'd have to memorize where the lightning strikes, so you could hopefully gauge a distance or 2 away from them to avoid getting hit. But after a good set of carefully timed jumps, I barely managed to pull through, however, and with that, we went on to what I would consider by far the scariest level of this entire run, Evade the Seeker Bullet Bills. Now the main reason why this is such a scary level is due to the extremely uncertain nature of these homing bullet bills that will without fail find your location and shoot towards you not only once, but as many times that they're within your range, which made me super stressed and careless. So without even getting through the first room of the run, Peach had already gotten hit. Daisy, however, is an absolute champion and managed to carefully navigate through the barrage of bullet bills, and with that we cleared the level, meaning it was now a single level between us and the final battle of this game. Bowser even said he was impressed with us, which is an absolute win in my books. So without any hesitations, we're on to Bowser's Knuckle Fest. Now this level is basically just a big gauntlet of a bunch of different projectiles and a timed knuckle mechanic along with these moving platforms you'll have to use to survive. And even though it was super scary, the first half of the level went pretty neatly, until I was forced to grab the Wonder Flower, which turned everything into party mode where stuff just went absolutely insane. Carefully listening to the beat to gauge the timing of every moving part of this level was essential to avoid getting hit. But I can gladly announce that we barely made it through unscathed, which means it's time for the final battle of the entire game, Bowser's Rage Stage. Upon arriving, we were greeted by Bowser Jr., who consequently got punched in the gut for just chilling out, I guess. Bowser truly is a bad dad. Afterwards, we were basically greeted by a constant barrage of different wonder effects we've encountered throughout our journey, which all cultivated with 2 snail pipe bros taking us to the ever so anticipated final boss arena. And with that, Bowser was finally defeated. The Flower Kingdom is at long last at peace again, and we've managed to finish the challenge. Best of all, it only took a couple weeks to complete. Yep.